Democrats and the media heaping praise on President Biden's State of the Union address. Take a look.
This was a tour de force. He had Frazier's left hook.
I thought he was fabulous.
He was filled with focus and enthusiasm.
Joe Biden proved, I think, he still has a pulse.
It was one of the finest State of the Union addresses I have seen.
Smoking Joe Biden was on fire. He was lit.
It was like a punch in the face to every Republican in the room, and that's how it started.
He put his chest out to those Republicans. He ain't scared of the Republicans.
We needed to be energized in a really big way, and he did just that.
He addressed this age issue with his aggressive, feisty, ad-lib delivery. I think that helped him.
He just completely blew away the Biden is too old issue.
I thought he was on fire. My frown had been turned upside down.
4 more years. Yeah. 4 more years. 4 more years.
All right, Judge, I'm taking this straight to you. How much of this do you think is about those folks being relieved that their guy, who there's no ramp they can see for him getting off the ticket, is going to be able to make it to November and beyond?
Look, I was even looking at him, hoping that he would make it down to the podium, just hoping that, we all have anxiety. Every time the guy shows up, is he going to fall? Is he going to trip? Is he going to mumble? But, okay, last night he spoke, and he spoke fiercely and aggressively, but he was a cantankerous kind of combat-ready guy, okay? And it was not the right time. This is a guy who got elected because he was supposed to be the adult in the room. He was going to unify us. We have never been more divided. And the fact that he delivered that speech, that, my predecessor's no good and this is no good and our economy is the best in the world and what I want to make sure of, and I'm taking care of the deficit. The reason we've got the problem with the deficit is you created it. You created it with the stimulus package and the Inflation Reduction Act and all that other stuff. And, now you're trying to say it's everyone else's fault. The reason we have a problem with immigration is because you signed 94 executive orders that you reversed, and now you're saying it's Congress's fault. Nothing is his fault. It's everybody else's fault. And it just wasn't the right tone. I get that they're happy. But you know what I want to know, Shannon? Why was this different? I've been watching this guy for 3 years. I have watched the cognitive decline for 3 years, the tripping, the falling, the mumbling. And you say to yourself, what did they do differently? Did he sleep? But we know he's had 140 vacation days in the last year. What caused him to be hyper, pumped up, amped up? And I'm happy for them, but the truth is that it was not something that we're going to see last.
Well, and that's the thing now. You've set a standard for how you're going to be out on the trail because now the campaign begins in earnest. Will he always have a prompter? Will he always be this fired up? But to have one of the assessments that was a celebration to say he showed he still has a pulse, I mean, that suggests that there was a very weird standard for last night.
Democrats are really concerned about this. The age issue was not partisan. It was across the board. And it has been the main storyline for the last 3 to 4 weeks of coverage, kind of kicking off with Ezra Klein. And we were talking about this earlier in the week that I believe the New Yorker interview was him taking control of the campaign again and saying to his aides that want to keep him hidden away, I can do this. I'm the guy that beat him, and I will do it again. So will every day look like that? Absolutely not. He's going to have some stumbles. He's going to have some Joe Biden moments. But he needed that, and we needed that. And I think it is important, putting aside whatever their political preferences might be, and obviously we showed some hosts who are openly partisan in this, but even reporters were leading with this story because it was what was taking over the American psyche, that they were saying we can't have this guy again because of the age issue or the competency issue. That's going to lessen as an issue. No one will ever say, 81 is my target age for a really great president. But they will say that this is a man who easily found his pants this morning. And that's, Greg's point about lowering the bar so far. But the partisanship issue, I think, is really important here because, A, he walked into a room and Marjorie Taylor Greene is wearing Trump campaign insignia. Mm-hmm. It is a partisan time at this moment. And Joe Biden's speech, he didn't say MAGA extremists, right? There wasn't that, the January 6th speech that happened at the beginning of the year.
He did talk about January 6th, though.
He did,
And there
but
was the
January
tone of,
6th, people who stormed the Capitol are different than the average Trump voter. And that's something that Trump voters have been screaming from the rooftops. We were sitting at home on that day, or we were peaceful, and then we went home. We didn't come in
They
with
feel
zip
like they
ties.
get all lumped together. Many of them
I know,
feel like
but I'm saying that I think it was an olive branch to not only Nikki Haley's supporters, the independents and the moderates, but the people who really believe in Donald Trump and his policies, but are not storming the Capitol or acting violently. And he could have called them out, and that would have appeased the base, and that would have been fine. But it was definitely flatter than, or less aggressive than we have seen before.
Okay, well, a lot of people thought last night was aggressive. So does he now agree to do debates, Jesse? Because now he's going to say, I feel my confidence, I can rise to the moment. Do those debates happen?
If they give him for the debate what they gave him last night, then yeah.
What drug do you guys think he was on?
I'm not a doctor, but they're giving him something, Jessica.
What?
Listen.
Cold medicine?
If you see a horse, and the horse is old and injured and mopes around the barnyard, and then all of a sudden you race the horse and he fires out of the gate and laps everybody, what'd they give the horse? Jessica, the man has walked around lethargically for the last 3 years, barely picks his head up, can't hear, is out of breath, falls asleep, skips dinners internationally, dies out during funeral processions. All of a sudden, this guy is like
amped.
On speed or something, Jessica, to dismiss it like, he's definitely clean. He should pee in a cup. Because there is no way Joe Biden can sustain that type of energy. Because now you've set the bar here. Mm-hmm. This is the real bar, right? This is the bar we've all seen. And it's by my ankles. Then now this is State of the Union bar. And we have 8 months to the election. Mm-hmm. So you now know what Joe is capable of, if naturally or unnaturally. You're going to expect that type of Joe Biden on the campaign trail. And when he doesn't deliver, will that prove that he's not been given something? Because it looks like he's been given something.
Well, I feel like this is where Greg may have some expertise that could help us.
Yes, Greg.
Yes, well, I've done a lot of research in this matter. And
that's what I meant, research.
There are ups and there are downs. Rather than projecting into the future, look in the past and ask, why didn't he do the Super Bowl interview? A 3 to 5 minute interview. Why didn't he do that if he had all this natural energy? I'm not going to cast aspersions into his medicine cabinet, but that always makes me wonder. The media in that clip sounds like the parents of a really uncoordinated Little League player who finally got a walk. Billy finally got to first base after an entire season. They're so grateful, cheering him on. But what's important, too, is not what they said, but what they didn't say. Where were the fact checkers? I said this yesterday. Remember, Jesse, when you said, wow, that was a great point, Greg? Mm-hmm. And I said, thanks, Jesse.
When I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah. And where were the fact checkers? And I said, I predict that they won't fact check Joe. They'll fact check Trump fact-checking Joe, which is exactly what the Washington Post did. They put all their muscle on fact-checking Trump as opposed to, talking about the things that Biden said. I mean, let's face it, he's talking about taxing billionaires. What are you taxing? Are you taxing their worth? I don't know what you're taxing there. It seems to be that Trump tax cuts raised tax revenue. In fact, that's been shown. And the corporate tax rate, when it was lowered to 35 to 21, it propelled higher income growth, which increased higher income and payroll taxes. Didn't think you'd get that from me, did you?
No.
But I do think I think that what you're seeing right now is, like, people are going, this is weird. This is weird. One side is relieved and the other side is going, this is weird. And they're both right.
Jessica said
they're
it.
both
She goes,
right.
We needed that.
Yeah, yeah.
And they gave that to you.
And you know, there's another piece to it. Guys, remember, he read a speech that he's read 5 times.
Yeah.
Whenever he went off script, it was Lincoln Riley, or it was, instead of electoral, it was electrical.
Yeah.
That's where he got in trouble.
Republicans out.
All right, we got to go.
On the border, on Social Security.
I'm just a visitor, so I don't want to get kicked off, but I'm told we got to go.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.